I'm delighted to say Sue Ronan, former Republic of Ireland manager, is with us to help us preview the game against Zambia tonight. But I guess, Sue, really, it's not just about the game tonight. This is officially the start of the World Cup for us.
Hi guys, absolutely it is. It seemed to be miles away the last time we spoke, but it's come around now pretty quick, and it's right on top of us. Yeah, it's the start. It really is the start of the World Cup for us. We're playing an unknown opponent, really, I guess, in Zambia. It's also their first time qualifying for the World Cup. They're known as the Copper Queens. They're not the best team in Africa, but they're certainly one of the up and coming teams. And I know from speaking to people there, they do have high hopes for this team, going on and improving over the coming years. But we're obviously playing them because they will be similar style to who we're going to face, who are Nigeria, who are the top team in Africa. They'll be a similar style. The African teams all tend to play the same. They're all fit, very fit, strong girls. Fast on the break, physical, they'd be in your face, so I guess that's one of the main reasons we're playing the game tonight, to try and set us up to what we're going to face against Nigeria in Australia.
And yet at the same time, we've been talking a little bit about this earlier on the show, it won't really be our full team tonight, so if the result doesn't go our way, I don't think anybody should be too concerned about that just yet.
No, they shouldn't. And I mean, I think Vera was quite clear last night in what she said. She has a squad of 31 players. She needs to get it down to 23. And she wants to be fair to some of those players who, she needs to see in a match situation. You can look at players all you like in training, but you need to see them in a game. Like some players will do great in training, and they don't transfer that then when you cross the white line into a match scenario. And then some players are the opposite. They may not train too well and play really, really well in the night. But she had said she's going to look at players. There's a lot of players there now that I suppose it's touch and go whether they're going to make it or not. She needs to look at those who maybe haven't got too many minutes in the past but have been in the squads. And she also probably needs to look at some of those that are coming back from injury to see where they're at. What sort of a load she can give them at this moment in time, what their recovery is going to be like. So it's a big night for a lot of players. And look, while the result is not as important tonight, of course you want to build a bit of momentum. You want to go into the World Cup with some wins under your belt. And regardless of who we put out tonight, I'll be honest, I don't see us not winning the game. I think we're a really good team now. We're sort of a well-oiled machine, as they say. Excuse me. I'd expect the players that come in will know exactly what they have to do within the team. It's not about them per se, even though it is in terms of getting selected. But they're going to play for the team. They're going to know what their role is. And I think we should be too strong for Zambia.
Leanne Kiernan is one of those players, Sue, that you mentioned that's kind of missed the majority of the season through injury. She had the ankle injury, of course, played 20 minutes, I think, for Liverpool in one of the last games of the season. Like, is it a risk bringing those players, or do you have to look at someone like Leanne and just say, look, she brings something to the squad, she brings so much experience as well, that you nearly have to bring her regardless?
Yeah, I mean, they're the things that a coach has to weigh up, And again, I heard Vera saying she had sleepless nights, and I can absolutely understand that. And she will have more of them before that squad is picked. And even after you pick it, you're saying, have I done the right thing? If you do take a gamble on a player that has been injured, but you have to weigh it up, I suppose. And the likes of Leanne and other players, I mean, you are going to look at what they've done before and what they can potentially do. And, you still have a few weeks to go before that first game. There's still, nearly almost a month, So players like Leanne, players like Nia Fahy, who have been important members of the squad, Megan Campbell, you also want to make sure they recover fully from their injury. So whether they get as much minutes or not, I think it's probably more about the players that, the fringe players that maybe haven't got too much game time, and looking at them to see if they can do a job, because you sort of know that Leanne can do a job, that Nia Fahy can do a job. So, but look, that's what the manager's there for. She has to make those tough decisions herself and her staff, and it's a tough time for everybody.
Can I ask you a little bit about what your perception of the whole contract situation is? Vera in the papers is saying that, to be clear, she wants to be here, but equally that there's other stuff going on in life, and it seems like the FAI have said they're willing to talk to her about a new deal, but that everything is just paused now. I don't know if the pause is going to resume when the squad gets down to the 23 and then they'll just get a deal done, or if they pause until after the actual tournament itself. What's your take on where we are at the moment?
Well, you see an awful lot with managers in various sports. It's happened with rugby with Joe Schmidt. It's happened with Andy Farrell. I think you see it with different managers in football. They tend to get renewed contracts before they go into big tournaments, so I'm not surprised that those talks are taking place. I'm not really sure what Vera meant by her comments, to be honest with you. I just saw them there late last night. Look, she seems to be happy in the job. She seems to be enjoying it. Obviously the team are doing very well, so when that happens, you want to try and keep that continuity. So whether it's just that there's lots going on at the moment, and obviously the World Cup's the most important thing, maybe that's what she means by putting it on the back burner and not discussing it fully. I'm not really quite sure what she means, but look, at the end of the day, I'm sure it'll get done. If it's going to get done, it'll get done, put it that way.
Yeah, there's just a little kind of always caveat heading into a tournament before, in football in particular, if the tournament goes horribly wrong, if something happens, then you end up with a manager. But in this instance, it feels like we're in the middle of a cycle as opposed to coming to the end of a cycle, that actually the right thing to do would be to have continuity at least the way through to the next Euros. And so if she wants a deal, I don't see any reason not to do a deal, at least for 2 years.
I wouldn't see any reason not to do it either, to be honest. Look, we've qualified for our first major tournament. That's obviously huge success, and the manager has to take a huge amount of credit for that, as well as the players, of course. So I wouldn't see why she wouldn't be given another contract if she wants it. So let's see what happens, I suppose, or unfolds in the coming days or weeks, or maybe she wants to put it on the back burner until after the World Cup. But I'd imagine she wants to get it out of the way and not have to worry about it.
What are those conversations? So you mentioned them there a minute ago. Talking to players about squads, obviously it's on another level. When you're trying to have a discussion with a girl who's not made a World Cup squad, but that must be one of the most difficult aspects of management, having those difficult conversations.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I suppose, put it in inverted commas, I didn't have that opportunity to have those conversations because we didn't qualify for a major tournament. But I have had to have difficult conversations leaving players out of squads when they maybe thought they should be in a squad, or they thought they were fully fit to be in the squad, and it wasn't nice. So I can only imagine what it's like now. It's heightened, much more. I mean, this is the first time we've ever been to a World Cup. It's taken so much to get there. So it's really going to be a very difficult conversation. And you see, you're even looking at squads being named at the moment, or even historically squads being named. There's always a surprise in a squad, and there's always a surprise either way, I suppose. We look and say, oh gosh, I wouldn't have left that player out, or gosh, I definitely wouldn't have brought that player, so everyone has their own opinion. But behind the scenes, obviously the management knows what's going on. They know where players are at. They know what their form is like. They know how they fit into the environment on the pitch. Maybe off the pitch might come into it. It might be nip and tuck between two players, and you might look at, well, who has more experience, or is this player got more to offer in the future? Or is one player better around the camp? It might even come down to something as simple as that. For the final one or two places. So it really is a difficult job. And it's going to be a tough time. And I've spoken to two people who have been closely involved in national teams over the years during my time, and I'm still heavily involved in women's football. Just over the last couple of days, we're just chit-chatting about the squad, and the three of us picked a different squad, so I mean, that's how difficult it is really to pick it. But it's going to be a tough one. But again, I spoke to one or two of the players recently, and they said, look, it would be devastating if we don't make the squad, but we'll get over it in a couple of days and get behind the team. So I think that's the calibre of player you have there at the moment, and person really. But it will be tough. It'll be tough decisions and tough conversations.
Are there any significant changes, do you think, in terms of how Vera will approach this World Cup and the games themselves? The reason I'm asking this is because, in Irish football history, there's always been this kind of weird convulsion in the build-up to a World Cup where we suddenly had to change our style of play to take account of, in America it was the heat, and we went from being stubbornly 4-4-2 to all of a sudden discovering 4-5-1 basically the week before. And Tommy Coyne comes into the team out of nowhere. So I'm just wondering, is there any possibility that Vera Pauw decides, actually, you know what, I'm going to go away from the thing that has made the team difficult to beat and qualify?
You never know really what's in a manager's mind. I'd be surprised, to be totally honest with you, if she does change her style. She has stuck with the same style now for a long time, and it has served as well. In fairness, okay, might not be the all-out attacking football we all want to see of Irish teams in general. We talk about it with all the teams. But I mean, we're getting results, and we're difficult to break down, and we're good on the counter attack, and everyone knows their role. So I would be very surprised, to be honest with you, if she deviates from it. But look, you just don't know. I suppose you don't know what's going to happen, and we've got a tough group, as we know. We've got the host team who are going to be playing in front of their home crowd. A lot of expectations on their shoulders. They've got some great individual players. One of the top strikers in the world, and Sam Kerr. We're playing the Olympic champions, who are also a difficult team to break down. I mean, they won the Olympics without winning a match, actually, really technically, because I think they won all their games. They had draws in the group stages, and then they won the games, the knockout games, on penalties. So they're also a tough team to break down. And then Nigeria, who you just don't know what you're going to get. Like, they'll definitely be defend in numbers, but they'll also attack in numbers, and they'll be good on the counter. But I can't really see us deviating away from it. And tonight players are going to know what they need to do. And to be fair to those that come in, it'd be unfair to ask them to do something different tonight that has only just been practiced in the last week. So I think we'll probably see a similar style tonight as well.
And then in terms of the actual squads that you and your two mates picked, is there anybody who's on the fringe of the squad who you think actually could catapult themselves into contention for a starting berth? And look, I'm not going to put any more pressure on players by saying this player should be in, this player should be out. I suppose we all agreed. One thing we did all agree on, that there's one or two players there that I know are only come back from injury, and they've been around a long time. And for us, they were on the plane, But yeah, like I think there will be surprise. I definitely think there will. There always is a surprise in a squad. There'll be someone that'll make it, maybe, that we'll all say, "Gosh, I wasn't expecting that." But I don't want to put any more pressure, to be fair, on the players' shoulders, because I think there's going to be enough pressure on them. I think let the decision be made between the management and the players, and then we can analyse it later to death once it's made.
And that's something, so you mentioned earlier, that perhaps people don't think of when it comes to squads and selecting players, the personality types. Like, as you say, when you're around a hotel and you nearly forget that they're going to have so much time to themselves, whether they're playing pool or just chilling around and having meals. Like, having someone with a certain personality type that brings something, as you say, to the group is key at a tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a squad of 23 travelling. How many realistically are going to play in the 3 games and hopefully more games after that? Are we saying 16, 17, 18 maybe? We don't know. There's not going to be... Vera's known for not making a lot of changes, and you're not going to be changing the team either. You're going to try to have your consistent, first 11, and there might be 12, 13, 14 players in contention for that, and then a couple of subs. So, the rest of the players, you want players around the squad that are not going to be moping around, that are going to do what they have to do for the good of the team, not themselves. They're going to be together for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe, more, hopefully. So it really is important to have a good dynamic and a good group that knit together. And look, from what we see and hear, this group does knit together, but you certainly don't want anyone that's in there maybe that doesn't fit in off the pitch either, as well as on it, because it's a long time to be together, and they all have to get on together, which it seems like they all do, but it is a long time to be away from home and cooped up together.
Sue, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us. Cheers.
No problem, guys. Take care.